And he's not here, just a preamble. He's not here to discuss any trivial issues discussed before, right? It's just a preamble. So if you're going to ask him any questions about what you heard this morning, he has chosen to stay away. So, but this afternoon we're here to focus and speak about the IMF, the latest IMF report. And we only have just about 2 o'clock. We have another interesting program coming up at the 2 o'clock hour. So let's take a quick break and come back for a word from our valuable sponsors.
Creole Handmade in collaboration with Q95 FM, the mix station. TNO Multi Solutions Inc. and Pop Research Part 2 was we pay a living tribute to the greatest calypso writer ever from Dominica. This Friday, April 17th for 10:30 a.m. on Q95 FM from 10:30 a.m. Here from the Monarchs' Golden Pen propelled to Calypso Championship. Kaiso Valedictorian, the coveted Kaiso MVP, 10-10 Kaiso Monarch, King Dice. Also the most charismatic Calypsonian ever, Breaks. The fiery Danny Chess. The slamming of Zuma. But when we say that nonsense was not, we have never Zay and the people's monarch, King and Baba. When people don't like you, can bring down manna from heaven. They won't like it. Special poem by Arundel Thomas and a tribute performance by multi-talented and road match heavyweight Monarch. Tribute to Kaiso Genius Battle Run Part 2 this Friday on Creole Hamilton Q95 FM, the big station, Q95 Facebook page and YouTube channel, TNO Multi Solutions Inc. and more. 10:30 a.m.
The romance begins from the very first sip. Treasure the rare, inviting richness found in our light wooden notes with a hint of vanilla. This rum is aged and individually selected oak bourbon barrels to guarantee a superb mellow taste with notes of dry tropical fruits, exhilarating the palate. Our unique aging process unlocks sweet, oaky notes with aromas of chocolate, toffee, and dried fruits. Angus through a single barrel run, distributed by Fine Foods Inc.
Rice and Company Limited. We manufacture high-quality roofing sheets, 24 gauge in different colors, also to customer specifications. That's right, whatever length you want. Aluminum seamless guttering. We also sell BRC mesh, steel rods in all sizes, breech caps, fencing wire and fencing poles. Free estimates for guttering, galvanized sheets, and fencing wire. Quality products at the lowest prices island-wide. Rice and Company Limited, located at Caneville Industrial Site, Shed 1A, just before the Old Mill Cultural Center. Call us today at 617-2468 or 615-0178. Rice and Company Limited, built for living, built for life.
Edinburgh Napier University, the #1 modern university in Scotland, is now recruiting for their June 2026 intake and is holding a free information session at the Waterfall Room, Fort Young Hotel from 6:30 to 8 p.m. on April 16th. Edinburgh Napier's programs, including the AACSB accredited MBA and BA Business top-ups for holders of associate degrees. They are 100% online, 100% relevant, and 100% flexible, and can be completed in a minimum of 1 year. Reserve a place now at www.sei, bold letters, degrees in lowercase degrees.com. That's www.sei, bold letters, followed by degrees, lowercase.com.
Hardware and home improvement, millions of lines for you. Kitchen appliances, even home decor too. Lumber, lawn, all your garden supplies. Plumbing, welding, electrical supplies. Visit Do It Center at the former J. Nassif Hardware location on Goodwill Road. Call us at 255-6890. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. Do It Center.
All right, Dominica, good afternoon to you. They said our time is limited, but we're here with Dr. Thompson Fontaine, leader of the United Workers' Party, the main opposition force in Dominica. An economist by profession, renowned economist, former employee of the International Monetary Fund, where he worked for a number of years. And this afternoon, we're here to talk about the latest IMF report. We're breaking it down so the local man can understand. Before I even introduce Dr. Thompson Fontaine, I'm going to play a voice note, a clip from the Prime Minister, his assessment. And he seems very, if you will, happy about his assessment of what he saw, what he heard in the IMF report. So let's listen to Mr. Roosevelt Skerrit, the Prime Minister of Dominica, in Parliament last week. Let's listen.
Because they believe that some of the things the IMF said is a negative to the government. Why? No. I love the IMF report. I don't agree with some things they say. They can have language to use sometimes. But I respect the report. It is done diligently and it is done properly. But let me, Mr. Speaker, for perspective and summary, draw to the Parliament and the people of Dominica what the IMF says. And this is what the IMF says. I'm reading from, Mr. Speaker, from the Article 4 consultation of March of 2026. The IMF says, Mr. Speaker, real GDP growth accelerated to 4.5% in 2025 from 3.5% in 2024, supported by robust tourism, 36% above pre-pandemic levels, and targeted development investments, the airport, the marina, the cable car, housing, roads, supporting the hotel and the private sector, improving doing business in Dominica, all of these things, agriculture. It goes on to say, inflation continued to ease, averaging 2.5% in 2025. The current account deficit remained elevated, primarily reflecting high construction-related imports, which means, Mr. Speaker, in essence, some things are happening.
All right, so you heard your Prime Minister still to be giving a glowing report to the IMF latest report. Thompson is the economist, and of course, that's the interpretation of how the Prime Minister saw the report and is giving that report glowing tribute. Dr. Thompson Fontaine, good afternoon to you.
Matt, good afternoon, and it's great to be back with you after
Always
a
a
while.
pleasure.
Yes,
Always a pleasure.
certainly, and to your many listeners,
Uh-huh.
it's good to be back.
Thompson, you heard the Prime Minister, and you, I'm sure, being an economist and someone who has been, who was employed for many years with the IMF, you have a better grasp of more than many people, including myself, of what the report says. Your interpretation.
Matt, thanks for the opportunity. And certainly that is something that I participated in myself in many countries doing these Article 4 consultations where we go in, we take a look at what the performance of the economy. We look at all of the indicators, real GDP growth, the current account deficit, government spending, expenditures, and so on, their debt levels. So while let me start by saying this, the Prime Minister read from the report and he is correct. They are indicating that there was real growth of some 4.2%. But let me just say that 4.2% is still well below the 7 or 8% that a country like Dominica should be doing. So while it is good that there has been some growth, and I can see the excitement in the Prime Minister, because when you think that over the past 10 years, growth has been less than 1% on average. So I can well imagine 4% seems like a lot. But let's look at that 4%.
He has reason to celebrate that.
He has reason to celebrate. But let's look at this 4% growth, Matt, in perspective. As the report indicated, this 4% came about for two main reasons: tourism and the investment program, including in the airport and the different the railway, the cable car and so on, and the marina, different types of investment projects. Now, what is wrong about this, or what is problematic about this is, yes, it is true that it is recording growth, but this growth is not widespread. This growth is not felt throughout the economy. What do I mean by that? If you have a 4% growth in tourism and a 4% growth in agriculture, that 4% growth in agriculture will have a lot greater impact.
Or multiply.
All right, on multiply. 4% growth or 2 or whatever percent growth it was in the investment sector, in the level of investments, that would normally be a very good thing for a country like ours. But look at the impact of that. A lot of the returns for that is being siphoned off overseas because persons employed in those areas of work
Those major projects.
of those major projects are not Dominican. And so a lot of the money that otherwise would have been in circulation is being siphoned off. So that's why I say it is not widespread. In other words, we are having growth, but you're not feeling it. It's not the same thing as when agriculture was buoyant, for example, and the farmers would come into town and spend the money, and they would give a big boost to the businesses in Roseau. So the private sector was thriving, the agriculture sector was thriving. This is not the same kind of thing we have now, mainly because you have that focus on bringing in foreign workers in some of the major projects, which is a big mistake by this government. That's one. And with regards to tourism, yes, it is true. The tourism sector is up, but mainly on account of cruise ship arrivals. But let's look at the cruise ship arrivals itself. That has been a major source of concern for many Dominicans, in that it is true the numbers are rising. We are seeing that. There are now 2 boats practically every day. You might do the season. You might find 2 boats here in Dominica. So in real terms, the contribution that they're making to the economy is up. But how much is that? How many people are actually benefiting from that type of tourism? If that growth, for example, was limited to the stayover sector where most of the tourism growth was, if that wasn't that, it would have been a lot better. Because if you have stayover visitors, they will come, they will spend locally in the economy, they will support the taxi men in addition to other small businesses, they will buy from the restaurants, they might travel around the island and spend and so on. That is different from the cruise ship visitors. The cruise ship visitors, for the most cases, they come, some of them on pre-arranged tours. They come back to the boat to eat, to have their dinner and so on, and to eat. They don't even spend on a decent meal, outside of the boat. So this is not the same, So the point I'm trying to make, yes, there is growth, but this is not the kind of growth. These are not the levers of growth that has to be stimulated in an economy like ours to really get the best out of it. So in other words, if I was looking for growth, I would have liked to see a report that says we've had high growth in agriculture, in the fishing industry, in manufacturing, in construction. These are the areas that touch the day-to-day Dominican, and that is not there.
So the basic basic man, if you will, is not the one benefiting.
It's not. So yes, the numbers don't lie. Yes, you have that, but at the end of the day, it is not the kind of growth that filters through and goes down to all the broad levels of the economy. And that to me is very concerning.
So what would you do differently?
So what I would do differently, Matt, is that in a country like Dominica, where 70% of the population lives in the rural areas, you absolutely have to revitalize the agriculture sector. So every year, the major contribution or contributor to your economy must be agriculture.
Well, I've been told by a former minister of this government, I was at the original meeting and I was told, agriculture is on the back burner. So why do we have to invest?
That's the very reason why we're having 4% growth and not probably 9%, because agriculture, Dominica is set up for agriculture. Dominica has as its main advantage, in economics we say comparative advantage, but just for the listeners, as its main thing, agriculture. It has the fertile land, it has the water for irrigation, it has everything that is needed to be able to go into an agriculture that can not only feed itself and the Caribbean, but can also do agro-processing. So there is a lot that we can do. There's a lot of money, millions, literally hundreds of millions of dollars that can be generated from our agriculture sector, and that is not been done.
It's still available, you think?
It is still available, Matt. And when the United Workers' Party assumes office, our focus is going to be absolutely on doing just that. We are going to revamp the agriculture sector to the point where we are going to be adding value to agriculture, to the point where we are going to generate those hundreds of millions of dollars that we speak about. It is exceptionally doable. It is possible. What it calls for is the level of investment in agriculture that we see. So instead of investing all of this monies, for example, in hotels, I would like to redirect a lot of that into the agriculture sector, subsidizing some of the inputs, allowing access to lands that are now closed up, the feeder roads, access for the ordinary person, making lands available to individuals to work, having a land bank that people can dip into and produce.
Isn't
and
that
so
what
on.
the Prime Minister announced recently about making land available for the young people?
Yes, but how many people have benefited from it? How effective is that? The Prime Minister announced a half measure where he's saying, okay, yeah, we are making those lands available at next to nothing. But that's where he stopped. You have to absolutely provide support to these individuals. You're talking about young people who have no money in their pockets, far less to be able to put money in, to buy in a bag of fertilizer. A bag of fertilizer, the last I checked, matter is $80 for the half bag and $160. That's a lot for just one bag of fertilizer, which can probably fertilize a couple hundred feet, not even an acre. So it's extremely costly. So if you're going to support with land, you have to go a step further and make a serious investment by ensuring that the farmers, they have the inputs, but more importantly, they have the access to the markets. That also is lacking. Not for want of demand, because the demand is, the last I checked, the people in Martinique and in St. Martin and Anguilla and Tortola, they are demanding our produce in Dominica, but it's not getting to the market. So it's about ensuring that you take care of the market, you take care of the inputs, and that unfortunately is not happening.
Mr. Fontaine, do you think that the young people are interested? The older farmers are, sort of going their way, if you will, dying out. But we don't see the young farmers like we used to. What's going on here?
That is correct, Matt, because the government has not focused on agriculture. Agriculture has been seen to be not profitable. But if it starts making money, if people understand that they can make money. I remember a time, Matt, and I'm sure you two recall that, when we were going to school, some of our teachers left teaching to go into agriculture. Some of our young teachers left to do that, because agriculture had a lot more money then. So it is my firm belief that when people understand that they can make money out of agriculture, that they'll jump back in. Now, all of them will not go back to the hot sun. In fact, when I spoke to you this morning, I was out in the hot sun. It's not easy to be out there in the hot sun working. Some may not want to do that, but there is a lot of other opportunities for the young people in agriculture. They can be involved in marketing. They can be involved in advertising for the farmers. They can be involved in helping the farmers get the cycles right, get the amount of fertilizer. They can be involved in building apps, in building support to the farmers. So there are lots of different areas that the young people can use their education in to support agriculture. And that's why I'm talking about the investments that needs to be widespread, because the way we see agriculture, not as we did it in the 1980s and 1990s, where you just grew bananas and sent it overseas. No, we are looking at agriculture in a completely different way. We are going to be adding value. We are going to be producing for the agro-processing industry. So people have to be thinking of new products. People have to be thinking of new markets to enter. All of that will provide opportunity and good paying jobs for the
But don't
young
you think
people in particular.
that your vision may be long term or what short term? As you come in, Thompson, you might have to do something immediately to spur up the economy.
Yes, absolutely, Matt. Especially for an economy that has shown, and we'll talk a little bit about the government spending and so on, which is not a very good report on this government. But certainly, the economy is so beaten down right now that it needs to be able to breathe. In other words, you need to be able to create more opportunities, and that is what is lacking. We have an economy that has not been able to grow. A growing economy attracts new jobs. A growing economy attracts better paying jobs. A growing economy attracts people who come from elsewhere, as we've seen, for example, in our neighboring islands like Antigua and St. Kitts and Nevis and so on. You have young people being attracted to those countries because they're providing opportunities. We believe that when you begin to provide such opportunities in a country like Dominica, you'll have the reverse effect, where people now will be coming into Dominica for these jobs. But that simply does not exist. So how do you create jobs? You create jobs, as I said, by focusing on some of those key areas, agriculture being the number one. But there are other areas. We have a water industry that can be developed to world standard. I mean, we have water is the only thing that you cannot live without in the world, and is growing shorter and shorter in supply all over the world. So we have something here in Dominica that can really benefit us, that we can really make again tens of millions of dollars from. And the question is how you develop it. For example, we should be positioning ourselves right now to supply bulk water to our neighbors, because there is drought in St. Lucia, there is drought in Antigua, there is drought in St. Martin and Grenada and all the islands further north. So how do you then provide water for those countries? In addition to that, how do you have 4 or 5 bottling plants that can provide good quality water that can be sold all over the world? So there are opportunities there. And what the government needs to be doing is to be channeling those opportunities. And what you need is a private sector that can support those efforts. What has happened, and one of the failures of this government has been that they have tried to do everything themselves. So they've tried to employ everybody. They've tried to employ everybody through the NEP. They've tried, they're the largest employer on the island. But at the end of the day, that does not work. What really works is a thriving private sector that gets the support of government, and let the private sector do the employment. So that all of these young people, for example, who are employed in the NEP, they could have been employed within the private sector, working in factories, working in marketing, working in advertising, working in the AI sector. There's so many things, other things that they could be doing within the private sector, but they're under the wings of the government. That is not a path to sustainable development. A path to sustainable development is a government that supports the private sector, that is able to expand, that's able to grow, that is able to absorb persons into it. And that is when you'll begin to see that 8% growth that I spoke about, that 10% growth that creates opportunities for people.
I've heard, Thompson, that any government, including yours, that may win the election and run government for the next 2 years is going to have much difficulty because of the state of the economy. Do you think that it's possible that you and other leaders may be able to transform this economy as it states, as it is?
Yes, Matt, I believe.
Real stuff.
Yes, absolutely, Matt. There is no question in my mind.
It's going to be difficult.
I think it will be difficult, but not impossible, because we have already spoken to the public about this. We've already put out a very clear 10 pillar that we believe will support sustainable growth in the long run. It's true the economy is in tatters. The government has a high level of debt. The debt to GDP ratio is over 100% of GDP. So that means we are incurring more debt than we're able to produce. That is not a good thing, because linked to that very high level of debt is the level of repayments. You have to be servicing this debt. So a substantial amount of monies that would otherwise go to other sectors of the economy, you have to put into repaying debt. So one of the first things that my government would do is to see how we can get some relief from this very high debt. Now, it is not a light or easy task, but it's something that is possible. You'd have to go into negotiations with your creditors. You'd have to put forward a credible plan. You'd have to look at different options, what we could, debt buybacks and swaps and all the rest of it. There are different ways that it can be done. One of the things that, in fact, I've been working on with the United Nations is to introduce a debt for climate change adaptation swap, where you promise that you will focus on mitigating the impacts of climate change, and the monies that you would spend on paying debt, that money would go towards that. So you have to negotiate those things with the creditors, those whom you owe the debt to. So all of that we would undertake, because we understand that if you can get an ease up on repaying your debt, that is money now you have to put into agriculture, to put into the subsidies that I talked about, to allow businesses,
do you think
private
that there
sector.
are people out there willing to listen to this?
Oh, yes, but I've seen it. I've been part of those kinds of discussions. That's why I speak so confidently about it. I've been part of those discussions where we, based on your program that you put forward, your creditors, because what the creditors want to see, they want to see you finally be in a position of stability where you are paying your debt, but without having this burden on you. Because, for example, there is an interest by the United States to help countries like ours, for example, because if we fail, and what happens, the young people, they travel to the United States, right? They leave the country and go to the United States. So if you want to keep that percent of people out of the United States, then one of the things you do is to support those countries that can keep them in the country. And the way you keep your young people in the country is by providing good paying jobs for them, that they have the confidence that they can stay and work in your country. But what we've seen, Matt, so while it is true there is some good out of the IMF report, it is also true that they talked about the number of measures that the government must take. The government has to position itself. So they're talking about, for example, tax strengthening on the tax. They've warned the government about these high levels of duty free that they continue to leak money from, in the millions of dollars duty free. And part of the problem that we have is our tax system in Dominica. It is so wrong. It is so terrible.
Who are getting all this duty free?
A lot of the friends of the government. That's why, Matt, some people are supporting the government for that only reason, that they're getting duty free, that they're getting support when they want it from the government, and others have to pay the very high fees. The part of the problem is that your tax system is not good. You have a poor tax system, that people feel the need to evade taxes, that people feel the need to go to government for duty free. What we will do is to reform the tax system in such a way that people will not feel compelled to have to dodge or duck. So you must have seen, lately the government, in an effort to gain some more revenues, the police officers are out making sure that people pay their licenses and so on.
Oh, yeah.
That is part of an effort to get more money into the government. All right. So a lot of the the tax regimes that we have is not right. And on top of everything, you pay this VAT again, you pay income tax, and you pay VAT, and you pay all of those duties.
But the reality is, Thompson, that you must collect revenue.
Right. So that is where we differ from this government, because the government has failed to grow the economy. It has failed to grow the economy in a substantive and sustained way. Because of that failure, it means that it now has to go after taxes, because that is only a form of revenues, notwithstanding the CBI. Okay, but if you're growing the economy, your tax collection grows with the economy. In other words, as you expand your economy, your level of taxes also increases. Okay, but if your economy is shrinking, as it has been for many years under this government, so too is your tax collections. So if you want to get more tax from a shrinking economy, you now have to be raising those taxes. You now have to be going after people. People have to be trying to dodge taxes and so on. But we will have an equitable and reasonable tax system while growing the economy. And as we grow this economy, we will make more revenues as the government from this growing economy. And that is where this government has failed. So notwithstanding the recent 4.2%, if you look at long term, they've been averaging just about 1% growth. And that is not good at all.
Give us an update on the CBI. Where, how much revenue we're picking up from CBI right now?
Well, I was hoping the report would have been clearer on the CBI. What it did indicate is that it is facing some difficulties, that revenues do appear to be down from where they were previously, but it did not indicate the extent of that reduction. But one thing is clear, given the recent problems, I say problems with respect to what has happened to our access to the United States, given the recent problems with the CBI program, the revenues from that seems to be going down. And the question is how far down and whether or not the government can sustain itself if we see a reduction, a continued reduction, with the understanding that 60% of government revenue, 60% is coming from CBI. And that could explain the reason why, Matt, in this IMF report, they're saying that the government made a big, they actually did not obey what they call a fiscal rule. The government has a fiscal rule that says that they will not go past 2% of deficit, fiscal deficit. In other words, whatever they collect, whether from CBI or revenues, they will not spend more than the equivalent of 2% of GDP. So if our GDP, say, is right now, our GDP is about 1.2 billion. So 3% would be, say, 360 million dollars. No, $46 million. All right. So they should not exceed the spending should not exceed by more than $36 million. Okay, every year. Now they have doubled that. Okay, so it's now double because it is in the report says they have moved from the rule which says they should stay to 2%. It is now 4%. Okay, so there is a doubling. What this means is that the government is spending a lot more than they really should be spending. But where is that money coming from? It is not coming from your revenues. It's already a deficit. It's already over what you are getting. This money is being borrowed. So we are adding to the debt.
Borrowed.
We are borrowing.
From our local banks?
From our local banks. A lot of it is coming from the local bank. And you've heard the reports of the Prime Minister knocking at the doors of NBD every month, to get resources. Some of it is local, others of it is coming from foreign, debt. But the end result is we are seeing a government that is increasingly exceeding its revenue collection. So that indicates that the CBI is going down. There are problems in tax collections. That's also shrinking because the economy is shrinking. Now they're borrowing more. So they add into the stock of debt. A big problem because at the end of the day, you're going to have to service that debt and you're going to have to take away some kind of spending to be able to service that debt. And that's a problem.
I'm being told, as you indicated, maybe the CBI funds are limited because some hotels, and even the grammar school, I'm being told we see a stop on that project.
Yeah, I've been hearing that. There were some concerns about that.
Construction.
The construction. I'm hearing that there was some concerns about some of those areas where CBI was being spent before, and whether or not that can continue. So yes, there is a huge cause of concern. And what I'm not seeing a government that seems prepared to deal with that problem. In other words, we are, the government, the Prime Minister is lauding the fact, or is saluting the fact that, yeah, we have growth, but he does not seem to understand that we're facing a real crisis in Dominica, a crisis in the economy. Things are getting worse. Goods and services are rising like crazy, especially on account of what we're seeing happening in the Middle East. And I don't get the sense that this government is understanding exactly how difficult a position that they're in, because you have to maintain a certain level of spending as a government. But if your regular sources of revenues are drying up and you're not creating any new revenue streams, you're going to have some serious problems.
Are you concerned, and what effect you think everything is happening around the world, as you indicated there, is going to have on the region?
It has already started to impact us. We have already seen, for example, that prices, diesel and gas prices here in Dominica are on the increase. We have also seen food prices going up because transportation costs are obviously rising, and that will have an impact on goods and services. The government on Friday was attempting to exempt some items and so on through VAT. I don't know how successful that will be if it's not policed well, if it's not well followed through. But at the end of the day, we can expect higher prices. We can expect basically living conditions in Dominica to get worse, and it is not going to get any better under this government, because you know, when these things happen, you should have some means to counteract it. You should have some means to make things easier or better. The government, their only response so far has been let's go to the parliament and get some reductions on VAT. But that's not going to go far enough.
But that was already existing.
It was already existing, and then just to extend it, I think it was just a matter of an extension. So
they could do more. You see?
I think they could absolutely do more to cushion the impact. But the question is, or the real thing that we have to note is that because they have not done very well by the economy over all of those years. All right. So in other words, if you minus the international airport, probably our growth would probably be about 1 or 2% this year. All right. I'm pretty sure that half of the growth is on account of these investment programs. So it means that they've not done enough in the other sectors of the economy that can create opportunities for the people of Dominica. And that is where the feeling is. And that is something that the government has struggled with over all of these years. And I do not see it getting any better. And that is why, Matt, we are offering an alternative to the people of Dominica, an alternative where we will, in fact, focus on those areas that will bring relief to the people of Dominica, that will bring opportunities to the people of Dominica, that will, quite frankly, create the kind of jobs and opportunities that we need in this country.
Have you followed the case as it relates to MMCE taking the government to court? How factual is that?
Yeah, I've been trying to understand what exactly it is. I'm told, and I stand corrected, I'm not sure how true it is, but I think it has something to do with some other project, with the cable car project and the understanding there.
The competition that they have.
Yes. Because my understanding and that is one of the things that we went to court forward with the government, is to get a clear understanding as to what is the relationship with MMC. And it appears that MMC
have the exclusive,
the contract, right, an exclusive contract that they have, that any kind of investment options would have to come from them. That's the reason why the housing project, MMC, the marina, MMC, the airport, MMC, because they have an exclusive project. Now, if the cable car corporation that is doing the cable car, if they're now accessing monies through the investment CBI program, then it's possible that MMC is saying that this is a breach of contract, because it should really be coming through them. So I suspect that's probably where the issue is.
So you're monitoring to see what.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a keen interest in that. In fact, as well, Matt, one of the things that we requested in our lawsuit was that the arrangements between MMC and the government of Dominica be made available to the public. We are awaiting the judge's report on this, or her verdict, if you like. And we're hoping that part of that verdict will include full disclosure of the contractual arrangement between MMC and the government of Dominica.
When are you going back to court?
We are waiting. It is open-ended. The judge will tell us when it is that she has her opinion ready, and it can come anytime. It can come this month, it can come next month. There is no limit as to how long she is allowed to take. The case was heard in April 23rd. And when the final arguments were made, and now we are just waiting. Did I say April 31st? Sorry, March. It was held in March. So we are just waiting now for the official word from the judge as to what exactly is the verdict on this particular issue.
Mr. Doctor, we've been told, just switching because we don't have so much time for a minute there. We've been told that elections may be anytime based on information on the ground. Doctor, I've asked that question to you many, many times. Are you ready?
Matt, we are working very, very hard to ensure that we are there when elections are called. Obviously, it's a process. We have been relentless on the ground. We have been relentless in attempting to bring a message of hope, a message of transformation to the Dominican public. We have, thankfully, and I thank my team for that. We have very strict orders, that we should focus very heavily on what we will do as a government. We are not involved in taking out MIPWI. We are not involved in pulling people down. we are involved as we go around the country, as we go around to the various communities to bring a message of hope, a message of development in agriculture. So, for example, when
So
we were
what is the
in
success?
Campbell,
What was the success rate on the ground right now?
Matt, it is wonderful in terms of persons. What I can tell you is the Dominican public are ready for change. I think what we're getting is a sense that people are definitely fed up of this government, that they want to move in a different direction after 25 years, and rightly so. And they're looking for a group, a party that can offer them that difference, and that's exactly what we are doing. So we are continuing to work. We are working, of course, on ensuring that the persons that are selected as candidates are people coming from those communities. We're not just going to impose candidates on the various communities. We want to ensure that when we announce a candidate, it's coming from the community. So we are doing those things to ensure that we gain the confidence of the Dominican public, taking nothing for granted. We are coming with our plans for the development of Dominica, and we're hoping that the people of Dominica will support us.
Any idea in terms of time when these candidates will be launched?
We are continuing to work, Matt. We have no specific time, of course. What I can say is that when the elections are called,
time is of the essence.
Time is of the essence. But what we have been doing very successfully, as I said, is that we have been going around to the various communities with a message, with an understanding that at the end of the day, it is the government that matters. It's not so much the individual per se, but the government that matters. And I think people understand that there are different reasons why you cannot always name your candidates. And so we've talked about that in the past. Mm-hmm. And people are very well aware of that and understanding of that. But for us, it is to keep the message alive, to keep going out with a positive message, a message of change. Persons who want to see a difference in Dominica will be able to have the confidence in our party that we can pull this change through. And that is basically what we're about, and I'm very happy with the progress that we are making. Obviously, there's more to be done. There's more work to be done, but I want to assure the Dominican public that we continue to work hard. We continue to work very, very hard for the trust and the confidence of the Dominican public.
All right, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes because we have another program coming up. I know you want to call and ask Thompson your question yourself, but I want to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take your phone calls, Dominica. Stick around.
We are open 7 days a week with the top of the line products. Well stocked supermarket and pharmacy, health and beauty care, fresh produce and meats prepared daily, hot and cold kitchen, ready to go meals, sandwiches, salads, and desserts at your fingertips. Easy access, located on the bayfront, environment friendly, and our staff are approachable and ready to assist. Have you figured out who we are? You got it. Fresh your one stop. Fresh
Edinburgh Napier University, the #1 modern university in Scotland, is now recruiting for their June 2026 intake and is holding a free information session at the Waterfall Room, Fort Young Hotel from 6:30 to 8 p.m. on April 16th. Edinburgh Napier's programs, including the AACSB accredited MBA and BA Business top-ups for holders of associate degrees. They are 100% online, 100% relevant, and 100% flexible, and can be completed in a minimum of 1 year. Reserve a place now at www.SEI, bold letters, degrees in lowercase degrees.com. That's www.SEI, bold letters, followed by degrees, lowercase.com.
KFC. KFC. Looking for some place to go. He knows for so. KFC. Grab your family and your friends. Join in the experience. KFC. It's the place to be, made for you and me. KFC. KFC. It's finger licking good.
All right, Dominica, we're here to take your questions. We have just about 10 minutes. 449-3095, 449-3096, and 449-3097. So, if you're calling from the Digicel line, remember our time is limited this afternoon, so please make that call right now. On the telephone, hello, talk to me. Yes?
Good afternoon, Matt, and good afternoon to Honorable Dr. Thompson Fontaine.
Yes, sir.
Matt, let me just congratulate Mr. Dr. Thompson Fontaine for the work that he does. And I mean, you could see that's a man who knows what he's about. And even not taken away from the IMF report, I mean, even before the IMF report, Dr. Thompson Fontaine and the team has been talking about, the whole idea of transforming the NEP. And giving the NEP workers the requisite skills so that could be aligned with what they call, the labor market. And the IMF is speaking to that as well. So the point is not that we have been talking and not talking the truth, but he knows what he's talking about. And the custodians of economics coming back to tell you, well, this is what we have to do. And I would like Dr. Thompson Fontaine, notwithstanding what he said, notwithstanding that, the banks are well capitalized, Matt. The report even speak of high level of unserviced loans, which means that a high level of delinquency. And he's right when he says that notwithstanding the biggest capital project that we are doing in Dominica, which is the airport, that is not impactful on the ordinary man. And here it comes now, that report revealing, and we know it for sure because it's in all the annual reports of the banks and even the credit union, that we have high level of delinquency. So people more are tied up, with respect to...
And also high levels of liquidity as well.
Well, I just told you exactly, notwithstanding that the banks are well capitalized, that means they have liquid. So the point is, that's the point I'm making. And also, too, with respect to the CBI, remember this government has been put to the challenge. We were addressing some of the weaknesses in the CBI program, and they have been put under scrutiny, and they have said, look, they have to come up with the biometrics and also understanding the whole idea of enhancing residency requirement. I still believe they have not met those benchmarks, and they're under pressure to do so. And the residency requirement is important. Why should a person have Dominica passport? Talking about investment. Citizenship by investment. There's no investment. There's nobody to a name. Person not appearing. You must have some residency in a country to show something that... So, I mean, this government is just playing and pussyfooting around. And I just want to tell Dr. Thompson Fontaine that hold strong. I mean, he's really the man that we need at the helm. And we are Dominicans to give him this full support and the United Workers' Party. So have a good afternoon, Matt. Thanks for the great work that you do.
All right, thank you very much. Again, the numbers are 449. Remember, we don't have too much time, so you better call and call now. MMC, according to one note there on Facebook, MMC seemed to be a government of its own operating inside of Dominica. Interesting how they are taking the government to court. But we'll keep following the story and give you more information.
Yes, Matt, and that is why we had to, and I must say a big thank you as well to the Dominican public for supporting us in those efforts, because they came forward and helped us to be able to put very good lawyers on this case.
Mm-hmm.
We are asking the government, what is that contract you have with MMC, where all of Dominica Passport's money through the investment program is going for them? That I think is complete madness, that a private company is now the custodian of the monies that belong to our country. That should never be. That should never have happened in the first case. And the question is why? Why did this prime minister feel compelled to turn over our money coming from the sale of our passports to MMC? And MMC now have to turn around and be the financier of everything. Those monies should have really revolved through our treasury. And I'm hoping that the court will see it that way.
Hello, on the telephone.
Good afternoon to you, Matt, and good afternoon to Dr. Thompson Fontaine, the visionary leader for the United Workers' Party. Ronald Charles here. Matt, the other thing I want to say, I just want to touch vaguely, because I hear that you're pressing for time. And normally, Matt, when the political leader, the next prime minister of Dominica, is on your show, you must ensure that he gets the time, But notwithstanding that, let me just say, do you recall, Matt Peltier, when Pirates of the Caribbean were in Dominica?
Yes.
Do you recall that time? Do you recall that almost every single bus driver was engaged, tipper trucks were engaged, supermarkets used to run out of goods and services, etc.? You remember those days? I was the transportation captain for Pirates of the Caribbean at that time. And a lot of the guys who may be hearing my voice now can call and say what that atmosphere was like. We have capital projects now in Dominica, and the IMF reporter saying, hey, they said it as exactly what Dr. Fountain had articulated. You cannot have so much capital projects going on, and then you hear in bus drivers bawling, they don't have work. People trucks have to demonstrate. One of them, all of them, some of them are before the court as we speak today. You know, local businesses are not benefiting. The average person on the road doesn't benefit from it. I mean, yes, there are one or two persons who, you know, may get a job and thing, but I'm talking about across the board. We should see a paradigm shift in Dominica where those projects are generating so much money for the local man to be able to survive. You heard Soso speak of the amount of persons that are losing their homes. So this is not an issue, a fly-by-night issue. This is an issue that the Dominican people must understand, that they need to make the necessary changes towards their governance, or else we'll continue on this level, we'll continue being last in the Caribbean, according to Austria, and we'll continue struggling. So people have to understand for their lives to change, now is the time to do it. You go, you get confirmed, you do what you have to do as a people. The right to vote is your right. The right for proper government is your right. Do not let people take it away from you and let you feel that you're a second-class citizen in a country that you're supposed to be the first-class citizen. So projects are going on. People are supposed to be employed. Things are supposed to be happening. People are supposed to go in supermarkets and see things things are happening for them. And therefore, that's why I say I want to congratulate Dr. Thompson Fontaine. Dr. Fontaine, thank you for the work that you continuously do for Dominica, despite your professionalism towards the whole issue surrounding the economy. And I continue to say that we will be making a fundamental mistake if we do not give this young man, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, a chance to be the leader of this country. And I suspect it'll be very, very soon from now. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take a final call, and I will allow Dr. Thompson Fontaine to make his closing comments. Doc, I'll invite you back sometime soon next week. We'll give you more time. Hello, yes, our final call.
Yes, Matt. Good afternoon. I'm glad you make it my final call, Matt. Matt, I have a question. Thompson, good afternoon to you.
Yes, good afternoon.
Matt, I have a question for Thompson. And Thompson, a few months back, I read an article where they showed all the Caribbean islands and the debt to income and where they are financially. And my assessment, Dominica was on quick time. So I'd like you to expound on that, because you just a while ago said the 100% number. So that means we're not producing nothing, we're not bringing in nothing. If it wasn't for passport, the people would be dead already, like they say, you're not already dead. My brother, I'd like you to expound on that, because financially, Dominica is dead. Thank you.
But absolutely, as we indicated, the economy is on the verge of collapse, notwithstanding, this rosy picture of a 4.2%, because money is not in circulation. We are not exporting anything, as the caller rightly said. We are drowning in debt. Our services are compromised. Our health services are under serious pressures, lack of medicines, lack of, different things, that we have. Our road networks in disrepair. I just took a video of the Layu Road a couple of weeks ago, complete state of disrepair. And we have that throughout the country, feeder roads not been repaired. So we have a situation where the government is in some serious problem, but more so the people. And as relates to our debt, those kind of debt burdens, unless you make some fundamental changes, you're going to have a real problem down the road. And we're talking about down the short road, 2 to 3 years, 2 to 5 years down the road, you're going to have some major problems with those levels of debt. And that is very, very concerning.
Well, as I said to you, Doctor, because of time, we have to let you go. But sometime next week, we will engage you. We have a lot more issues to talk about. But thank you for coming.
Yes, Matt, it's been a pleasure. And let me just, I'm informed the people of Warner that will be in the area tomorrow and a public meeting on Thursday in the Warner area.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Fountain. Thank you. Thank
Pleasure.
How are we going to come back, Dominic? We're going to take one break and we'll come back after this. Stick around.
This Tuesday night, it is our 12th Global Beyond Q show for 2026. And we continue to engage with our local, regional, and global Q family listeners and friends of Dominica. I'm Sheridan Gregoire, Mr. G. With me is my co-host, Justice Dr. Irving Andre, former IMF economist and UWP leader, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, businessman Anderson Jolly, Miss Maslin Edwards, and political scientist, Dr. Dion George. We turn our attention to the recent IMF report on Dominica and the battle for Dominica's resources, how foreign companies are fighting to enrich themselves at the expense of Dominicans. Here are some talking points. Is Anthony Hayden's company taking Dominica to court? Is a Trump company gearing to sell Dominica's passports? Did the Canadian couple in Soufriere die because they and their clients were using a road Dominicans have used for decades? Now the IMF country report on Dominica reveals some findings and raises some serious questions. It says growth momentum is expected to ease over the medium term, with risk tilted to the downside. Additional fiscal consolidation is needed to reduce debt vulnerabilities, reinforce the currency union, and strengthen disaster resilience. A multi-pronged strategy to broaden revenues and rationalize spending can reduce fiscal imbalances while safeguarding priority investment to support resilient and inclusive growth, addressing balance sheet vulnerabilities, modernizing regulatory frameworks, and easing long-standing structural constraints to support sustainable credit growth remain key priorities. A wide-ranging structural reform agenda is needed to strengthen economic resilience and ease the impediments to growth potential. Institutional frameworks should be enhanced to better support policy formulation, monitoring, and implementation. So what does all this tell us about the management of Dominica's economy? Why is it proposing that we tighten our belts even more. Why does it warn us about our spending, our national debt, our exports, our healthcare, our cost of living, and about our local industries deficit? And what does it tell us about Dominica's current leadership and about that same leadership over the past 25 years? And what do we suggest about the way forward for Dominica's economy, for the people's well-being, for healthcare, education, a lack of knowledge and tech industries, agriculture and agribusiness, and other sectoral industries? So we look forward to the contributions of Justice Dr. Irving Andre, former IMF economist and UWP leader Dr. Thompson Fontaine, businessman Anderson Jolly, Miss Maslin Edwards, and political scientist Dr. Dion George on the recent IMF country report on Dominica and the battle for Dominica's resources, how foreign companies are fighting to enrich themselves at the expense of Dominicans. Tune in Tuesday night for more on the Global View on Q.
So many mothers crying, so many feel around. When we lead it, when we
All right, Dominique, over here. Another very important program coming up. We're speaking to two doctors here in the house. And of course, you know, it's a special week this week, huh? We can allow Dr. Fevrier to make the official introduction, introduce her colleague, another specialist herself. Maybe it's the first time I've seen her on the radio. Have you been here? Oh yeah, you're here with Jolly's maybe interview. Not by me for sure. But it's welcome back. Welcome. Dr. Fevrier, good afternoon to you. How you doing? A voice we are familiar with.
Very familiar. Good afternoon to you, and thank you for having us.
Always a pleasure.
Okay, so Dr. Natasha Maxime Fritz is here with me. She's our national endocrinologist, and she will tell us what it is she does, what her specialty entails. But the reason you're seeing us this afternoon at such an odd hour, because usually at that time of the day we don't see doctors on the radio stations, always in the morning, right?
Yes.
It's because this week we're celebrating the Carissa Etienne Primary Healthcare Week. We all know that primary healthcare was birthed, encouraged, foundationalized by Dr. Etienne. And we thought it fitting that with so much going on in primary healthcare, and people really do think that all they do is go to the clinic, see the nurse, see the doctor, go at their home, collect their medication. But there's a gamut of services that we offer, and all of them geared towards preventative medicine. It's geared towards educating the public. And so we thought, you know what, this week, let's just take some time and go out there in the public and get people to understand that what Carissa Etienne started is still just as good, continuing, and even better.
All right, now tell us what is, for many people who don't understand, what is primary health care?
Oh, that's easy. If you think of primary
For
school,
you.
no, but if you think of primary school,
Right.
primary is primary no matter what. So if you think of primary school, think of primary health. So primary health is where you deal with the problem before it becomes a problem. You deal with situations, you deal with lifestyles, you deal with social occurrences, mood swings, everything you can think of before it becomes a disease you need to treat and take to secondary care. So just as in primary health care, they're not going to just give you a textbook and tell you to start to read. What do we do? We teach you. By the time you get to high school, nobody's going to teach you to read. We now expect you to read and understand and write and everything else and add foreign languages to that. So if you think of primary health care, just think of the beginning of it all. So we see patients from, we like to say birth to the grave, throughout the continuity of their life. But we see you before you're born because we see you in your mommy's belly as well.
Okay.
So
it's a privilege.
Yes. You get a doctor long before you even born. You have a nurse long before you
That's why
even
I tell
born.
you, you're privileged.
Privileged.
I don't
But
have
the
a
most
privilege.
the most important, well, We can see your children too, you know, Matt.
No. I'm talking about me. I'm not privileged to see it before it becomes a reality.
Oh well, not, but we can see your children too. Long before they meet the egg, we can check on your children for you if you want us to do that. We do check on those children as well.
Okay.
Right. Those potential children.
Okay.
We check on them as well.
I'll check you when I'm ready.
I have long fingers coming. So we see our clients throughout the continuity of life, which makes primary healthcare in Dominica even more special because not everybody can afford to go to a specialist, to a obstetrics and gynecology specialist. So we have all of those services, and I'm going to allow Dr. Maxime to introduce herself, and then we can double back and talk primary healthcare and primary healthcare week.
Dr. Maxine.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
It's a
afternoon.
pleasure to be here today and to speak to the listeners.
Okay.
I've been here numerous times, Matt.
I
Most
missed
times
you.
on
I was going
jollies.
when I'm going, you're coming. When I'm coming,
Yes.
you're going. Yes.
So it's good to be back. My name is Dr. Maxime Fritz, Natasha Maxime Fritz. I work as the endocrinologist. It's a big word, but it basically means that I oversee illnesses based on hormonal imbalances.
Okay.
And 85% of my patients are diabetics, which is one of the prevalent NCDs that we have, not only in Dominica, basically worldwide. So I go with the Ministry of Health, along with the Ministry of Health.
So can I refer to you as a diabetic specialist?
Diabetes and hormonal disorders. So
Okay.
diabetes is just one of the hormonal disorders that
Okay.
I look at. So I work with primary healthcare primarily, and I work in a very unique way, a way that I enjoy because I get to go across the island to sit with the different patients. So
Okay.
I literally work from Capuchin to Kashaku,
Okay.
literally. So today, for example, yesterday I was at Sally Bear in the Kalinago territory, and today I was at Maho in the morning holding a clinic. So I
Okay.
sit with the patients, different ages, different situations, and so forth. And most of the patients that I see do suffer from an NCD, which is our focus here today.
All right. So tell us again, just for explanation's sake, NCDs. Let's break it down.
So when we speak of NCDs, we're speaking about NCD, non-communicable diseases, which are chronic. So we have chronic, usually we put a C at the front of it, chronic non-communicable diseases. So these are diseases which are not contagious. Okay, they're not contagious. And worldwide, NCDs are the leading causes of death. When we think of, and if I have to ask somebody on the road, just randomly, what do you think is the leading cause of death in Dominica? Very rarely would someone say an accident. We know accidents happen, but the leading cause of death worldwide, I think the last statistic I saw was at 75% worldwide is NCD. So we're referring to chronic illnesses such as cardiovascular diseases, such as hypertension. I'm sure if we are not hypertensive ourselves, that we can at least name one or two people within our family or friends group who's hypertensive. Cerebrovascular diseases such as strokes, okay, diabetes, and in there also cancer. Sometimes we leave out cancer because we are so focused on hypertension and diabetes, but cancer also forms a part of the NCD. So these are the more prevalent ones that we see in our society that we talk about more often, and the fight is on basically against NCDs in primary health care and even at our tertiary level also within the Ministry of Health.
All right. So what are we doing now to fight the NCDs? That's your forte?
I don't know if it's my forte, but it's my job. It's unfortunate that there isn't a fix for NCDs, because most NCDs are things we develop because of our lifestyle.
Okay.
It's hard to fix lifestyle, Matt. It's easy to fix a rash. You can put a lotion on a rash, you can take a tablet, and that's done. Or most rashes are caused because of a virus or bacteria. They will outlive themselves, they will go away. But when you're trying to convince a human being to stop doing a particular thing that is detrimental to their lives, it is difficult. Like she said, if you go up to 5 people and you ask, what is the leading cause of death in Dominica? You will not hear diabetes and hypertension, but it is. We call them the slow killers. You want to know why we call them the slow and silent killers? They don't come knocking. And because you don't, it's not the, I have some bad news for you today. We've discovered that those cells are cancerous. Anybody hearing that? And the doctor says, oh, doctor, what do you need me to do? Because you know that's a short death sentence, right?
Yeah.
Diabetes is not a short death sentence, just know. You can live to 80, 90 years, but it is a burden on society. If somebody gets a diagnosis of the big C and you're told, stop eating sugar, they immediately stop eating sugar. Don't eat fatty foods. You're not going to tell me twice, I'm not eating. Cut down on the bread. I am exercise. I do it. I know of a patient there, and he found out that carrots could help. Didn't see him. He traveled, came back. When I said the man was orange like Trump. Okay, the gentleman was orange, Matt. And his wife is telling me, Doc, I don't even know what to tell him because he eats, drinks, sleep, everything for him is carrot because he read somewhere carrots help. All because he doesn't want to die of cancer. And we're telling people, it's not just the dying, that's the problem. It's your quality of life. Imagine, and I always use this example, I've heard the Prime Minister use this example. You're a young man, you're good, you're working on the port as a stevedore, you're making a little money, you're getting a little euro here and there because they're tipping you, you're doing well, your family comfortable, your daughter in high school, you're doing so well, your wife is a stay-at-home mom. So she okay to wash your cancer, cook your food, and take the children. We good. Because daddy making the money, he coming home fortnight, he might buy a couple of beers on the way home, but he okay. Then one day he take out his boots and you take a cent and you figure, let me scrub the boots. Another time you lie down, but his foot so your head, so he's saying, but babes, you have a bobo man under your foot. Before you know it, we have to cut off that foot. Think of what happens to that family. I mean, we're not talking about just food and clothing and rent and bills. We're talking about simple little things like cold medicine, sanitary napkins for your daughter because you can no longer work. Why? Because when we came on the port and we screened everybody, we told you were pre-diabetic, check up on it. But you were okay. You did not feel sick because you don't feel sick, Matt. You don't always feel sick. Every time your pressure high, it doesn't give you a headache, Your pressure sometimes through the roof and you go, you play a game of football, you go down and they say, but yeah, he was just on the block with us there and he fall down. And that's what we don't understand. So there's no fix. What we're trying to do now is fix and change people's mentalities. It's not about health anymore. We're not even speaking about healthcare anymore. It's about wellness. Health is how you're feeling at this present moment. How I'm feeling, how she's feeling. Whoever's listening to it, that's how you feel now. Wellness is I got up this morning, I said my prayers, I drank a glass of water, I took my vitamins, I exercised for a bit, I made a healthy breakfast. Why is it wellness then? Because it's a journey. It's what I'm accustomed to doing. It's how I'm living my life. Because in your wellness journey, you can get sick, and that's your health. Because your health is your present state, your current state. Your wellness is your journey, what you're doing every single day. So what we're trying to do is get people to understand that forget health. Because if your wellness journey is okay, chances are your health will also be okay because one affects the other. And so we call these diseases lifestyle diseases because we think that, I'm going to use carnival that just passed. Caveat here, I have nothing against carnival. For whoever it is, that's okay. Alcohol, the Bible tells you in excess is wrong. People always say, oh, little wine for the stomach sick. I mean, how much stomach can you have for sick? How much of it can you take for your little stomach sick before it starts to burn a hole in your stomach? Right? So everything in moderation. But you're hypertensive. You cannot mix your medication with your drugs with your alcohol. Which one you think they're going to put down? Answer me, man. Answer the world.
The alcohol.
The alcohol. They're not going to put down alcohol. They will put down the medication. So they
Yeah, that's
stop
it.
taking the
Let's-
medication.
Let's take a pause for the weekend.
Yeah. You know, that weekend of drinking alcohol and partying and not sleeping could be the weekend that did you in. And nobody wants to stop and think about that. So you hear people saying, and I'm not here to defend the Ministry of Health, I'm not here to defend the government. I'm a medical practitioner, and that's what we're talking about, medicine. Unfortunately, it has implications in the government and the ministry because,
Right.
they hold the purse strings. But it's so easy to blame everybody else
But yourself.
but yourself. Michael Jackson said it right. Take a look at the man in the mirror. What am I doing to prevent myself from getting into that situation for me to end up in the hospital and they have to tell me we don't have any of this and we don't have any of that? We're not considering that. All we want is to live our lives happily. And when we reach in the hospital, like they have spare parts on the shelf somewhere and we're just going to pull down the spare parts. Yeah, I say that to people all the time because we tell people, come in, get your wellness check. Get your wellness check. Know your numbers. What is your cholesterol level? I don't even know what cholesterol is. What is your blood pressure? I don't know. What is your sugar? I don't know. What is your weight? I don't know. What is your height? I don't know. I mean, what do you know? But then you buy a new car, plastic still on it. After you pay your check, Matt, what do? They give you a date to come back. Not sure for servicing. Do you go back for servicing?
All the time.
All the time. Why?
Like you want to make sure your car is in check.
Oh, really now? But when you go to the car dealership, are there spare tires? Are there batteries?
Yep.
Are there car seats? Air fresheners? Everything you want for your car to be replaced.
All right.
It's right there. But you go to the hospital. Have you ever seen a jar full of lungs waiting for people to come in?
No.
Blood? I mean, we don't have spare parts. And people will take care of, they will make sure their life insurance is paid. Their phone, everything. Your phone always top up. You know your balances for everything, but you're not taking care of yourself. And then we say things like, oh, the hospital and the healthcare system, they have their issues. But do what you can do for you. You have to control it on this end because you really cannot control what happens on the other end. So where do you control it from? You control it from where you can, by what you put in your mouth, what you put in your heart, your soul, your mind, what comes out of you. That's what will keep you well. I mean, I could talk for hours about this.
I know.
I'm sure you realize.
Of course, I know that.
So just to complement what she's saying, we are trying to encourage personal responsibility, especially with the adults. Because if we can take personal responsibility, especially as adults, then we can influence the children, we can influence the younger generation. For example, the youngest diabetic I have now, type 2 diabetic, is 14.
Wow.
14-year-old. A 14-year-old second former. So just imagine the implications, and I'm talking about a 14-year-old diabetic at school on medications. Okay, so just imagine the impact that's going to have on that child in school, mentally, psychologically, you know. So there are a lot of implications. So we need to have personal responsibility because there's a lot of things that we can do.
Just stop right there. That's, just I want to inject a point here. When a baby is born, and you know everybody say, "Boy, look a fat baby," is that still encouraged?
No, it is not. It is not, because everything has its parameter.
Okay.
Everything has its parameters. So even a baby's weight has its parameter. A pregnant woman's weight can also influence in the outcome of the health of her child, etc. So, and that's one of the things that we are looking at in primary healthcare, also childhood obesity.
Yep.
We are looking at that and going into the schools.
Right.
You know, I go to clinics and sometimes there are 5-6 children waiting so that we could have a look at them because of their weight. And so a lot of them are already either pre-diabetic or suffer from insulin resistance. And we are already seeing the complications of those illnesses in the teenagers and even the children who are below age 13. Okay, so we're just trying to build awareness and to encourage everyone, the heads of the family, the parents, to pay more attention to, you know, I think before we could say that it was for lack of information. But I think that that excuse is no
longer
longer
valid.
viable. It's not a valid excuse because information is at our fingertips. I mean, I've been here so many times on the radio waves. We're using social media. You know, you could speak to right now. We have healthcare professionals all around us. Your nurse is right next to you. You know, so it's a matter of discipline and putting into practice what we know to avoid, you know, facing the complications,
Do you
the
do, you- do,
severity
you-
of
do you
those
take that
illnesses.
education to schools? The school?
Yes, we do. Yes.
That's
So,
important.
Maybe
Yes,
I
we do.
can now talk about, because we spoke a little bit about our maternal and
Yes.
child health care. So we also see students, so that's pregnant women.
Mhm.
We also see students in primary school. So our family nurse practitioners will see them when they're coming in. They will see them halfway through and at grade 6, I think. Grade 6, right? When they get the HPV vaccine. So we check you in primary school. And what used to happen before
Mhm.
was that after you were done with primary school, you're going off to high school. We don't see you again unless you get sick and you have to go to school or you come for. So we don't see you again. And we realized that was a critical age group that we
Yes.
were missing. Our high schoolers, because in primary school, mommy pack your snack bag. She's the one who feeds you. In high school, take a $5 in my purse. So you make wrong choices because you'll buy whatever is available. What we've started in Ministry of Health is a $1 care. So we now have a $1 health clinics
Mhm.
where your teenager can come and get seen, not in the prying eyes of the neighbors and the
Okay.
old lady down there. But they bring her for, I wonder what she was doing. No. You know, teenagers already.
Yeah, okay.
Everything is a segue. So you come with your mom or your dad and auntie, a trusted adult, and we see you in the health center. Guess what? We also go into the schools because not everybody feels sick, but we capture them there. I did a school 2 Fridays ago. We saw 48 students. 3 out of that 48 students had blood pressures over 140. Teenagers, man. I'm not talking about 17 and 18, 19-year-olds. I'm talking 14, 15, 16-year-olds already with signs of hypertension. And that's scary.
It is.
That is very scary. So we want to be harping on about the government, the hospital, but all we do is buy fast food. We fry everything. We're not taking out the skin on the chicken. And these are things we know to do, you know. But it tastes better. And I always use this scripture verse where the Bible promises that He will satisfy your mouth with good things. And I always tell people it didn't say nice things. Because some of the best things for you are bitter herbs to cleanse your system and all of that. All the herbal bushes and those things we use there.
Do a little
Those are the
education
good
that you
things.
just to inject something about taking off the skin from the chicken.
Uh-huh.
Educate us on that point because
So this
Yeah.
from the chicken is fat.
I hear a lot of doctors in the States say that, but we're not educated like that in Dominica. You go to
No.
KFC and people, I love the skinny boy.
No, all you think there is oil, fat, adipose tissue. What else is that? It's not even like
Even for example, when I was saying that to somebody the other day, and they were quite surprised. I was explaining I love barbecue chicken,
Mhm.
so I was explaining to them even the ham because they considered the fried chicken healthier, the barbecue chicken healthier than the fried chicken.
Mhm.
So I told them, do you know that even in the preparation of the barbecue chicken, we could expose ourselves to carcinogens, meaning we could put ourselves at risk for cancer. And one of the main ways is when that heat touches the skin, the fatty portions of the chicken. When the smoke, when it touches it, is like it melts and then it falls down into the smoke and then you see the smoke rise. When that smoke hits back the chicken, it's a completely different smoke than when the fire was just lit. And in there we have carcinogens. So
from the coal as well.
right.
From the
So
coal.
that's
It's the
where
reaction of the coal.
the educational part comes in. But then after we receive that information, what do we do with it?
Buy barbecue chicken on
So
Friday.
when we are told that we should avoid, the deep frying of food so frequently and so forth. Yes, we know that, but do we really put it into practice? And that is where we're having the difficulty because yes, we provide the information, but we need people to start putting into practice what the knowledge that they have.
I see the longest lines I see every day is at KFC.
Literally Sunday to Sunday.
Don't they cook anymore?
Sunday to Sunday, Matt. And so the skin of the chicken is not good. at all. You take the skin off. And we're not telling you
Don't buy a KFC.
no. I mean, you want to treat yourself every once in a while, but that cannot be your daily meal. That cannot be every single day a mastiff with butter, with cheese, with whatever. That cannot be the way we're eating and then expect miracles when we get sick. Primary healthcare services in Dominica is one of the few countries where it's at no cost to the citizen. So you go to the health center to see a specialist, you don't pay.
All right, let's take I know some people want to call. You know, they want to make an interactive program. Hello, talk to me. Are you
Yes,
there?
Matt. I know. Good afternoon, nurses.
Doctors.
Doctors. I heard them. One of them said something there that the hospital doesn't have spare parts. The hospital doesn't have this. The hospital doesn't have that, and people expecting that and this and that. But does that doctor know that some people go to the hospital with one issue, and when they leave the hospital, they're having multiple issues that came from the very hospital, and they are the ones have to buy the medication to help cure and heal themselves? Thank you.
I agree with her 100% because it happens, Matt. There's no denying it. You go to the hospital with one issue that you recognize, but then we do tests, we do everything for you, and then we tell you, hold on, it's not only this, you want to know why you have a headache? Because you have X, Y, and Z. You want to know why your stomach getting big? Because X, Y, and Z has been happening all along. So she is very correct.
Mhm.
Sometimes you go with one issue and we discover multiple others. Now, more than likely, she's talking about the fact that sometimes you go there and then somebody else on the ward has a flu and you catch the flu as well. It might develop
Mhm.
into a pneumonia, those kind of things. This doesn't happen only in Dominica. It happens everywhere. You don't have a private room in a hospital. So once you're not in a private room with a private nurse and a private doctor, you're in an open ward. And our ward's not even open like they used to be. Right now, we have cubicles with a maximum of 3 persons in an allotted space.
Mhm.
So they meet the gold standard for nursing care and for medical care.
And in primary care, that's what we're trying to avoid. The whole idea of you even getting to the hospital. Right? Because if you could, so for example, there are services that we provide in primary health care that every single Dominican has access to, that if taken advantage of, that could actually a lot of times prevent you from even having to deal with going to the hospital.
Mhm.
Just for example, when was the last time you measured your blood pressure? So if you come to me when you're feeling that you're not feeling the right side of your face, right now, that's different than you coming to just have a blood pressure check on a regular day.
Mhm.
Right now, I have to query, is he or she having a stroke? Where do I have to send you? To the hospital.
Mhm.
And if the doctor sees anything alarming, he's going to admit you and you're going to have to be at the hospital for your own well-being.
Phone call. Hello. Oh, sorry about that. I missed that. So call back. Okay, 449-3095-96 and 97.
So, like I said before, we're not here to debate the hospital. This is primary healthcare. So we're telling you guys, if we have all of these issues, supposedly all of these issues in secondary care, primary healthcare is well equipped to do what it is supposed to do. So primary healthcare has doctors. Primary healthcare has nurses. We do have midwives. We have specialist care. So you can, as a diabetic, you can come in and get your feet checked. Do you know that, Matt?
Oh, yes.
You can also come in and get your eye checked.
Mhm.
You have a nutritionist on board with us. She's a nutritionist dietitian. So you don't have high blood pressure, you don't have diabetes, but you're on the bigger side. You're obese, you're fat, you're
Mhm.
overweight, whatever. You meet with our nutritionist so she can do a meal plan with you, help you to get along and do the process, right? Instead of feeling bad about yourself and continuing to eat and all of that. I mean, we have mental health referrals that we can do for you. So we literally take care of you from top to bottom. Literally top to bottom, man.
Hello, talk to me. Hello. Hello. Somebody keeps calling, but not staying on the phone. Are you there, caller? Call back. Yes. You're saying top to bottom.
From top to bottom, we can take care of you in primary healthcare. Now, again, remember I gave an example. Primary healthcare is preventative medicine, not curative medicine. So to come to a health center and expect X-ray and CT scan and all kind of blood no, what we want is for you to start coming to us long before you get sick, so we can help you prevent yourself from getting sick. We're trying to get you to not go to the hospital. We have 49 health centers on this little island. You want to know why? Because when Dr. Carissa Etienne started thinking primary health care, she said, okay, if Newton gets cuts off, then we need a health center in Point Michelle because they have a cliff there, in Soufriere because they have a cliff there, and in Scottsdale. So each one of those areas has a health center.
On the telephone, are you there?
Hello, good afternoon. Station in the house.
Yes,
good afternoon to you, doctors.
Yes,
I have a question for them, but before I ask the question, let me make some statements so they could understand the question. Here in Station, we had an issue with obesity. I don't know if you all have that in Dominica selling. I'm from Dominica as well. Chorby used to come in here by the bundles. Cokes and Sprites come from St. Kitts by the dozens and hundreds of cases. And the school began to experience an obesity problem. Children could not sit down because of so much of sweet and a lot of candies that used to come in the shop. There was an investigation that went on, and they discovered from the Medicare, they went out and they discovered these was the result of some of the sweet stuff. So what they did, they went into Parliament and they passed a rule that these things must be banned. So Chubby, no Chubby selling station. Some of the other sweets, none of these things selling station. They banned them. And we've been to see a decrease, a drop in. And there was a session of education by the Medicare individuals who go from school to school, and they had jingles on the radio station. They had commercial breaks in between. Somebody would come in and speak concerning that. And it went for a season, and we're going to see a drop because children here in 4 years had diabetes. There were children who 6 years had to take insulin, and that was a very grievous situation in Station. And right now, we having a sense of control. And my question is there a path or a method that can be sent to the government? Because I hear the government now putting erasing some of the price on some of the things that even produce some of those obesity, like even canned food is one of the most deadly things. We don't eat nothing. My wife and I will eat nothing. So the question is there a law that you all can come together as doctors and not pressure, but convince those who represent us? Because it brings us burden on the Medicare. It brings a burden on the healthcare institution. If they can ban or either do come up with something that can discourage these sweet goods from coming in our island, because it's destroying our health and it's putting a burden on the Medicare. So that's one question I want to ask.
All right, thank you very much. Now, Chubby is a very serious problem.
We still have Chubby in Dominica? I
You
know we
have
have a lot
drink?
of Quenchy, but we're talking about our sugar-sweetened beverages.
Yes.
So it's not just Chubby, yeah? If you look
We're
at
using
some
as an
of-
example.
Yeah, but I'm using Chubby, but I'm also saying, so there's the fizzy drinks. But if you pick up a bottle of Fruta, compared to how much sugar it has compared to a bottle of Coke or a bottle of Quenchy.
16 ounces, I was told by a doctor.
Yes, Matt. So people talking about, Quenchy not good, let me drink a Fruta instead.
Yep. It's a lot of
So
sugar in
those
there.
are the kinds of things we want people to talk about. Now we have a school nutrition policy that is going to come into effect if it hasn't started already. We're just waiting to implement. And it speaks about a lot of the things that he's talking about. So we're basically saying on the school grounds, these are the foods you can provide. There are certain schools where you have feeding programs that the menus have to be produced
Follow
by
the
the
guidelines, yes.
nutritionist and follow the guidelines. The vendors on the school premises has to follow those same guidelines. So even if you're not inside the school gate and you're right outside the school gate, so there's a perimeter around the school where you are not allowed to sell certain foods. Now there's this
Is that policy? Is that
it is going to become policy.
I'm just
So
asking.
we'll hear about it very, very soon, Matt. Very soon.
Because I've seen adults say, I don't take sugar, but I've seen adults how can you drink that and there's no sugar in there? But I guess it's just an acquired taste. After
It's
a
an
while,
acquired taste. But guess what?
uh,
A baby or a toddler who has never had sugar will never crave sugar,
no,
until the first time, because they tell you, scientists tell you, doctors tell you that sugar is more addictive than cocaine.
Yes.
The first time you have sugar, you're hooked.
that's true.
Your brain craves sugar. It wants that rush. It wants that energy. So people talking about sugar like it's not a big deal. It's a very big deal.
Very, very.
That's why it's so hard to stop using sugar.
I remember my dad was a diabetic, and he used to hide the sugar drinks.
Jesus.
Because he just craved for that.
Yeah, you crave it. After a while, I feel like eating something sweet.
I always ask my diabetics, have you stopped using sugar?
I think a little
And those who say yes, I said, okay, well, we're good to go. Because that is literally one of the hardest things for diabetic patients to
Yeah.
do. So I know if they have the discipline to stop using sugar, then everything else they have to do, they will have the discipline to do it.
And what we don't want to do is to sound like we're police.
Yes.
Telling you, do this, don't do that, don't do the other.
But there's some
Because
foods with sugars, though.
some foods have sugar. Some fruits have sugar. Now, if you're used to putting 3 spoons of sugar in your cup of coffee, break it down to 2. And you will realize in the beginning it's going to taste nasty. By a couple of days, you realize, hey, that's sweet enough.
Yeah.
And then break it down to 1. And you'll realize, but it's sweet for sure. You don't need it to burn your tongue and burn the back of your throat. But that's what your body will crave, because it releases those hormones that make you feel good. You have more energy and all of that.
I'm
And we
surprised
don't-
that a lot of the local vendors, I think some of them started not using sugar. In the local juices, they put sugar in there.
So we had last year we had a symposium with fruit juice vendors especially, and we did that at PSU. And I was encouraging them. I'm like, you know how many diabetics will come to you specifically if you have no sugar option?
Oh yes, oh yes.
Because they're in town too, they thirsty
Yes.
too. Why are you only catering to those who drink sugar? So you can do 3 modalities: fully sweetened, medium sweetened, unsweetened drinks. People will buy it, it will sell. Because people want to know that there are things we call commercial determinants of health,
Mhm.
and that's one of them. If that's all that's available and I'm in tongue and I thirsty, that's what I have to buy.
Let's take a phone call. Are you there? Wow, time is of the essence.
I spoke a while ago, then like the nurse or the doctor, she tried to spin it in a way that can be this when they go for a test. But a lot of the time, people come into the hospital, they have one issue, and they leave in maybe with other issues because of negligence. Excuse me, because of some negligence of some doctors and nurses, the people getting other issues and other complications. When you go to the test, then they will see it, but because of the negligence, right?
She's blaming sometimes the negligence of the doctors, and then you end up with something else. I think you spoke about that, but I don't think she picked it up.
Yeah, but I'm not here to talk about that. I'll make one statement though.
Yes.
There's a reason why there are lawsuits all over the United States, because
Mhm.
this isn't the thing that's novel to Dominica,
Yeah.
right?
So-
Medical legal issues happen throughout the universe. Wherever there's a human being managing another human being,
Mhm.
errors will be made. So like I said, I'm not here to defend the hospital. I am here to talk about primary healthcare services.
But somebody's asking before you go there, Matt, can you ask them if they have authority to force changes against the sugar mills or the sugar drinks that we import? Do you have that authority?
We don't have that authority. So what we have, like I was saying, are sin tax. Sin as in sin, don't commit sin, S-I-N. So we have sin tax that's applied against tobacco and cigarettes and the like. We have it against alcohol, sugar sweetened beverages thus far. The aim is to have ultra processed foods, foods high in sodium as well. You will find that the prices sooner or later are going to become more expensive than foods that do not contain those ingredients. So you will get things like can be very salty. Can be very salty, right? So that's what we would call a food high in sodium. So foods like that are high in sodium versus a tuna in oil or tuna in water that has very little or sardine.
Mhm.
So you'll get one being more expensive than the other.
Okay.
So that is the aim. But I don't think it should take the government imposing
Laws,
those kind of harsh
rules.
Oh, maybe it should. Maybe that's their duty. I'm not a politician, so I don't know what their roles and responsibilities. So maybe it is a role or responsibility of the government. But what is your responsibility to make wiser choices? So it's true you can say put taxes on those things, but if a person wants a thing, they put taxes on cigarettes. The cigarettes didn't stop selling. People who are addicted to smoking still go ahead.
And it goes back to the idea of discipline. So I'm going to give you a perfect example that most of my patients, we laugh about it. Even on social media, they tease me about it. Every time mango
As
season,
for mango season,
every time mango season is here, I get headache because I know I'm going to get a lot of patients coming to the health centers and so forth with the blood sugar high. And whose fault is it? It's always the mangoes. So it's a matter of discipline. That's my keyword for today, discipline. Because it's okay to have one mango. It's okay to have maybe according to the size, even 2 mangoes. But why are we eating a basin
you have
of
to eat a
mangoes?
basin of mango for it
Okay,
to
so
feel like
even
it's a
sometimes we focus even on the foods we consider bad, but even with foods that are good and rich and nutritious, we have to have control. I always, for example, tell the diabetics the fruit we have, and when I ask them what is the fruit we have on island that's going to spike your blood sugar the most, everybody will say mango or some say banana, but that fruit is actually watermelon. So it's okay to have a slice or 2 of watermelons, but why are we eating half of
A
a
whole-
watermelon or a
whole
whole
watermelon.
watermelon? So it's about moderation. After you have that knowledge, after I've given you that knowledge, what are you going to do with it?
So men say it's good for potassium. When you take a lot of watermelon, it's good for the potassium level.
Guess what?
A coconut water.
Guess what?
Ah.
There is only so much your body will absorb. The amount of vitamin C you need for the day can be found in one cherry, not even a bottle of cherry juice. So all the rest of it is expelled. So no matter how much of it you drink or eat, the body will only absorb the amount of nutrients that it needs for that particular time.
And
So
and
eating
that's
in
what we
excess not
do.
healthy.
That's what we do in primary healthcare. So we provide you with the information and we give you direct access so you can come in to get the guidance to take hold and to take control of your health.
On the telephone, are you there?
Yes, madam. Yeah. Good afternoon, Matt, and good afternoon to your guest, Matt.
Good afternoon.
Matt, very interesting program, Matt. But Matt, I want to tell the doctors, I am happy that they are giving us that education, but at the primary school, even from the preschool level, I think they have to put that in the mind of the children from preschool. Let them know what is healthy food, what is not healthy to them, and give them the reason. So as they are growing, Matt, they will grow with that awareness. I believe more work should be done in educating the children at a very early age, and then they will not depart from it. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I suspect there's a voice of a diabetic here on the telephone. Let's. I sure you don't mind. You have a voice? Yes. Let's go.
First time I hear about that everything.
Mhm.
They have their clinic annual NC. How much for their visit?
All right. Do you have a cost for your visit? She's saying, where do you have this visit? Because this is the first time she's actually hearing.
Primary health care is free. Primary health care is it's not free. We pay, but we're not paying at point of service. So there is no out-of-pocket cost to any of the consumers of primary healthcare services. We're talking about coming to the health center. We come to your homes. We go to your business places. We go to your schools. We go to your churches. One day we go in on the block. We all over the
This
place.
patient is from Point Michelle. When do you plan to go to Point Michelle?
So all this patient has to do is to visit a health center.
And just
There's a health center right there in Point Michelle.
Right.
She has a conversation with the nurse. We also have community health aides that could assist. And then she's given a date. If she needs to see a doctor, she's given a date. If let's say she's a diabetic patient and she needs to sit with me as a
She is,
specialist,
she is,
she's
she is.
given a date. So I've been to Point Michelle
Okay.
at the health center. I've been to Soufriere. I've been to basically all the health centers. So you're given a date to see to the specialist. If the patient is homebound, like we know we have some patients who are elderly or may have some complication that they cannot go to the health center, then you can have that discussion with the nurse and you request a home visit. Last week, I spent the entire day with the nursing team in Dubla. And then we visited the patients who cannot come to the health
Right.
center but who are diabetic. I did home visits and we went from Dubla to Biosh and it was wonderful. It
Awesome.
was very good.
So you see, Matt, the idea that primary health care is not the same and all, we're there.
Okay.
We're there.
Somebody's making a point there, and maybe you guys are not touched on it. The kidneys and liver need to work efficiently in order for food to be metabolized properly. You guys have not mentioned that only about the consuming sugar. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, we focus a lot on what we consume because what we eat is who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And even with the functioning of the kidneys and the liver, what we consume
Same thing.
contributes to a lot of that. Let me give you a typical example. A lot of the patients that I see have what we call metabolic syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And in there we have affectation of the blood sugar, we have hypertension, and one of the things that is most often associated is what we refer to as in medical term hepatic steatosis or a fatty liver, a non-alcoholic fatty liver. And that is basically the body, as we start storing fat, it coats the liver. Now, the body's intention is not to hurt you. Why by doing that? What it's really doing is trying to protect you. So it says, you know what? I have extra fat. So let me put it around the areas that are most important to her. So I'm going to coat her heart, I'm going to coat her liver, her intestines. But in trying to protect you, it actually harms you. Okay, so we have a lot of people walking around with fatty liver disease, and statistics are showing that fatty liver disease is causing just as much as problem as someone who drinks a lot, who has cirrhosis of the liver. So that fatty liver disease, even though you're not an alcoholic, complicates into, and that's why we spend a lot of time speaking about nutrition and having an active lifestyle, etc., because it all starts there. So if we have those things down packed and on the lock, then we protect our kidneys, we protect our liver, we're protecting our heart, we're protecting our brain, we're protecting all our organs. But yes, the kidneys and the liver also do play a very important role in our health.
Boy, time is of the essence here. Hello, talk to me on the telephone. Very interesting discussion. I'm sure you want to stay there.
Good afternoon.
Good
to
afternoon.
Matt
Yes.
And to Dr. February and the other doctor.
Mm-hmm.
That's teacher Luther Martin talking. Dr. February, I noticed you as a teacher, some parents, they stock up the children with snacks as though they're going to a picnic. Snack is snack. Why you want to give the child a whole bag full of all different kind of things to take to school? Right? I'm not saying you're not supposed to feed your child, but some of them overdo it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, so we seem to be very concerned about the how NCDs are affecting our children.
Mhm.
And because of that, as a national coordinator for NCDs in Dominica, I came up with this program called School Health Champions.
Okay.
It's something that we're going to be launching pretty soon. We're in conversation with the Ministry of Education. What we want to do is within the high schools and the college, because we already have teachers and nurses doing it at the primary school level. So what the School Health Champion is, we're going to train, at least in each school for now, 4 students who are going to be doing this.
Educators.
Educators. So, I mean, if I go in, and I said that to a particular officer the other day, if you come to my school and start to tell me about condom, I will not listen to you. You're not looking like you know how to open a condom. You're not looking like you've ever used a condom.
Right.
So don't come and talk to me about it. So I thought, who do they listen to? Themselves.
Their peers.
Who do they follow? Their peers. So why not train the peers as we do with every other thing? They teach them all the bad things. So now we want to put peers in the schools who are trained on listening, because mental health in our teens is a big thing. Anxiety in the workplace started in the class. Rudeness in the workplace started in the class. So mental health is a big thing. So we want to train young persons in CPR, in good nutrition, in physical education, activities, and also in mental health, how to be a mental health peer support.
Mhm.
When they tell you a particular thing, you know what to say and you know who to refer them to. Because the last thing we want is for you to come and tell me, boy, I feel like killing myself. And I say, really? Tell me about it. No, don't tell me about it. I run and tell a teacher. I go into the HLPE. I know that there are pathways I
Mhm.
have to, or somebody always complains they have a headache, they have a headache, they have a headache. I know to ask you, are you drinking enough water? Are you getting, I'm not medical advice they're going to be giving, you know,
Right.
but we're going to train them such that they can start to detect, and in their assemblies in the morning,
Mhm.
break time, that they know how to help their own peers stay healthy.
On the telephone, yes.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
A quick question there that just joggled my mind a while ago. Let's assume that your body needs 10 pints of blood to function, but for whatever reason you went to the hospital and you were told that your blood count is low. On a Richter scale of 10 pints, your blood end up being low as to 4-5 pints. Now you are given blood that is not diabetic blood. From the doctor point of view, do she think that can contribute to better your blood system as to when it comes to being a diabetic?
Do you understand the question? Let me break it down. You're saying,
Okay.
if you have, for
I
example,
think I understood.
you understood?
Yeah.
If
So
you're
you're
you're-
diabetic, but you get non-diabetic
blood,
blood.
that's
Will that help you with your diabetes? But
Yeah.
diabetes is not in your blood. It shows up in your blood, but the problem is actually in your pancreas.
Yeah.
So unless we take out your whole pancreas and give you a brand spanking new pancreas, we have not helped you much, because that blood recycles, cells die, they regenerated. So I'm getting.
Interesting
I mean,
question.
No, the
it's an interesting question.
It's
It's
no.
an interesting question,
So-
but the answer is no.
So yeah,
Getting non-diabetic blood doesn't
Help you.
anything for you. Unfortunately, I wish it did. I would probably get some weight loss blood. But anyway. But Matt, I was telling you, so we
Yeah.
have quite a few. We have 7 new flagship programs
Uh-huh.
that are going to be launched by the Ministry of
Right.
Health under my office.
Mhm.
And one of them, like I said, we're very interested in the children.
Okay.
So that's going to happen pretty soon. So parents, if you're listening, you have teenagers in the home and they're into that kind of thing. They want to be nurses, doctors, or any kind of healthcare professional. This might be a great starting point for them to get introduced into the medical system, into the healthcare system, and they can become advocates for their peers.
How soon you'll be starting that training?
Well, documents have gone on to Ministry of Health, so we're in conversation, but it is happening. It has been approved.
Mm.
So we aim to start in 2025. So for the summer, we will get students.
2026.
2026 school year.
Okay.
So we will get students. We'll get students
Uh-huh.
during the summer, maybe just before school open, when the schools have identified the students. So we're going to be doing training with the psychologists for them,
Okay.
so they know how to interview. We're going to do CPR training with the fire officers for them. So that here children fall long in school and be waiting.
Mm.
The teachers don't know what to do. The students don't know what to do.
That's
So
true.
we're doing our bit.
You also have to teach them confidence.
But of course, that's the first lesson they're going to learn.
Mhm.
Confidentiality
You know, children
is
talk.
going to be, but that's why the schools are going to pick the kids. So even if you apply, we're going to vet. And the teachers will say, yes, that one can, but he's a little chatterbox, probably not that one.
Yeah, you know, I run home and tell my mommy, you know this.
No. So they're going to actually sign confidentiality waivers. So we're
Okay.
not going to just allow any and every child to go ahead and do that. Another thing I want to just mention briefly
Mhm.
is our Fit for Life wellness journey, and that's on Facebook. I know everybody's on social media.
Okay.
A survey has been developed. It's
Mhm.
going to be circulated. I mean, I can probably circulate from tomorrow. You do the survey, it gives you a score. And it tells you where you're at in your wellness journey. So it'll ask you all kinds of questions. And it gives you a score. At the bottom of that, you'll get a link to join our Fit for Life wellness page on Facebook.
Okay.
It's nothing complicated. Matt, you want inspiration on how to cook dashing differently? Come on the page. So what we want is almost like an accountability community. All of us doing this together. Hey guys, I'm on my way to the gym. Or hey guys, I'm about to do my devotions. Let me share with you. Because, like I said, wellness is not just eat right and exercise. That is fitness. But the wellness journey, hanging out here with your friends, laughing, joking, playing a game, going for a drive, watching the sunset. Just a page on Facebook that is dedicated not to Beth, not to gossip, not to politics, not to any of those things, but helping you to become a better you, more appreciative you, a holistic you. So it's the Fit for Life wellness journey. When you see the survey, guys, do the survey, see where you're at. If you score a 40 or 30 or 90 something, you'll get a score. And then you know where to make your changes, because you will see where you've scored low. Join the page. And if you have a bush, that doing a particular thing or whatever, share it. Because that's what it's going to be about.
And let's take a
Simple
phone
and
call.
nice.
Let's take a phone call, and we'll have to wrap it up in a minute. Are you there? Caller.
Yes, Mr. Matt. Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Yeah, very good program. It's late. I cannot make much of a contribution, but one of the things that really got my attention is teaching the children CPR. That is like basic ABC that everybody should know in case something going on at home in front of their parents, grandparents. Know what to look for, at least what to do. Call for help. Excellent. A+. Congratulations to the people. Healthcare is my thing, Matt. Have a good afternoon. Take care.
All right. Somebody's making a comment. I don't know if we picked it up here. But, Matt, don't the doctors know that people don't get blood sugar by using sugar in your teas and juices? It's by the foods you eat and fruits, that you don't get sugar, neither by the amount of that you consume. I don't know. That seems a little confusing.
Let's get the specialist to answer that question.
Okay, so we're talking about type 2 diabetes.
Right.
When we speak about in the NCDs, especially in the adults, we're talking about type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
Now, there are two
Tell him
pathways.
what type 1 is.
Type 1 is autoimmune diabetes. Usually it starts in children, and it's because of autoimmune. Autoimmune basically means the body fighting against itself, and it destroys the beta cells of the pancreas that produce insulin. For type 2 diabetes, what happens, you could have two mechanisms. So you could have one where your pancreas does not produce sufficient insulin for you, right? And then you could have what we refer to as insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is when, yes, your pancreas produces a bit of insulin, but then your body does not process that insulin properly. So an insulin carries sugar, insulin carries glucose. So if your body is not processing insulin properly, you're going to have an accumulation of insulin in your bloodstream, and eventually you're going to have an accumulation of blood sugar. So you move on from being insulin resistant to when the doctor tells you need to watch your sugar a little bit, meaning that you're pre-diabetic, and then after that it complicates into type 2 diabetes. Now, where does sugar come in? Remember I said insulin carries glucose. Now we get sugar from different ways. There are different forms of sugar. So you could have, for example, sucrose that we use that to sit in our teas and so forth. In a fruit, there's sugar. You eat some rice, there's another form of sugar. You drink heavy cream milk, there's another type of sugar in there, right? Now, sugar on its own, glucose on its own, or lactose on its own, or all the other forms of sugar are not necessarily bad. What we are referring to is the excess and what it's going to do. So let's say you are a 40-year-old male. Science and studies have already shown you're at risk for one of the chronic illnesses. Let's add to that, you have a stressful job. That's another risk. Let's add to that, from 8 to 4, you're sitting. That's another. We haven't spoken anything about sugars yet. That's another risk. So that's all the risk factors that you have, right? Just those risk factors can affect your insulin levels.
And your father
Just
had
that
sugar.
alone. You have a family history of diabetes and hypertension. We haven't spoken about sugars
We
yet.
haven't eaten any sugars yet.
We haven't eaten any sugars yet. Just these alone can affect your insulin levels. Okay? Now, that's the example I use for my patients so that they could understand. Just imagine you have a vehicle and you don't have a lot of gas, right? But you decide you're going to do an island tour. what's going to happen?
Run shot.
You're going to run short somewhere along the way. You're going to run short. And that's what happens when we overconsume. So like I said, it's not just about the sweetened drink. Sometimes it's the very things that we consider healthy. Like I have an issue in clinic with the elderly patients and the cereals, the porridges, the cornmeal and the oats, because to them, these are the healthiest things, and the dashing to them,
Oh, yes.
that's gold. So for me to tell them to reduce on those is a whole re-education process. So that's why we stress so much on the things that we put in our movie. Yes, it does impact, because the more work you give your body to do, it's already under stress. So the more work that you give it to do is the more detrimental it becomes.
All right. Wow. We can stay here all afternoon, I suspect, but we'll have to come back. Any closing comments before we go, though? Let's.
Okay, so I want to close by leaving a challenge.
Okay.
A challenge to the listeners that we have. How many more days we have left in the week? Sometimes I lose track.
Today's Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday,
Wednesday,
Saturday,
Thursday, Friday, and then we have the weekend. I want you to sit in your personal time, and for you, and if you have children, for your children, figure out a way that you can engage with the primary healthcare team. So it's either you come, you visit, you bring your child, maybe to get his weight or height checked. You visit your nurse to get your blood pressure, your blood sugar checked, right? And as it's primary healthcare week, we're trying to, encourage people to engage with the primary healthcare team. And the other challenge that I want to leave is that we always hear the term, know your numbers. So do something this week or make a plan that you can come up with to get to know your numbers. So you could come to the health center, for example, get your forms filled out, something as simple as that. So you could go get your blood test done so you will know what your cholesterol is. Just try to engage with your primary healthcare team this week. And remember that we are focusing on, as we're doing that engagement, we want to remind you that it's a personal responsibility. So that's what I want to leave our listeners with today.
Okay.
I'll take our last call. Our last call. Hello, talk to me quickly.
Yes, Mr. Matt, because you say you were just wrapping up, I did not think. No, when I came here, that's when I knew, I'm not a diabetic, but working in healthcare, I know about A1C and all this modern terminologies and whatnot. On the layman terms, home, how does the doctor explain to the patient to get them to understand what that means? And when they become a diabetic, what their number should be, where it is when they are pre-diabetic. How they explain that to the local person who does not know, or to the people home who don't know so much about all this modern terminology.
All right. Thank you very much. A good way to wrap up as well. Huh? Know your numbers.
So,
It
the
is-
question.
Yes.
Let me just go for that quickly. Our primary healthcare staff are well trained, and we have from doctors to community health aides, public health aides that will explain it to you in patois, in English, in Spanish, in Creole, in Haitian Creole.
We've drawn
We'll
books,
draw it
storyboards.
for you. We will draw your medications for you. I mean, like I said, it's primary health care. So we speak to you as clearly as possible. My advocacy this week is, like Dr. Maxim said, know your numbers. If you don't want to know your numbers, know your doctor, know the staff. And like I said before, we have a few initiatives coming on board, and I know a lot of us are very concerned about health. So if you have a teenager who keeps saying, I want to be a doctor, then I'm telling you, school health champion is for them. You're always in church, and the old lady next to you always passing out during worship because she don't eat breakfast. We have church health champions coming up. Then we have the Healthy Village initiative coming up. We also have the stairway challenge, so buildings with a lot of stairs, and they always are elevators. We're telling you, when you get to the top of the stairs, these are the calories you've burned. So we have a lot of things that are going to. So instead of just sitting back and just talking, we're putting these things out there, and we're expecting now the public to reciprocate, join a program, and help us to help you stay healthy.
Thank you. I'm hoping you'll be back soon. Doctor,
I'll be here tomorrow, Jollies.
Big up, Dr. Carissa Etienne. Rest in peace.
That's right.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Come back soon, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank
you. Great job. Don't forget tonight, another big program right here on Q. Global View on Q. Stick around.
This Tuesday night, it is our 12th Global View on Q show for 2026. And we continue to engage with our local, regional, and global Q family listeners and friends of Dominica. I'm Sheridan Gregoire, Mr. G. With me is my co-host, Justice Dr. Irving Andre, former IMF economist and UWP leader, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, businessman Anderson Jolly, Miss Maslin Edwards, and political scientist, Dr. Dion George. We turn our attention to the recent IMF report on Dominica and the battle for Dominica's resources, how foreign companies are fighting to enrich themselves at the expense of Dominicans. Here are some talking points. Is Anthony Hayden's company taking Dominica to court? Is a Trump company gearing to sell Dominica's passports? Did the Canadian couple in Soufriere die because they and their clients were using a road Dominicans have used for decades? Now the IMF country report on Dominica reveals some findings and raises some serious questions. It says growth momentum is expected to ease over the medium term, with risk tilted to the downside. Additional fiscal consolidation is needed to reduce debt vulnerabilities, reinforce the currency union, and strengthen disaster resilience. A multi-pronged strategy to broaden revenues and rationalize spending can reduce fiscal imbalances while safeguarding priority investment to support resilient and inclusive growth, addressing balance sheet vulnerabilities, modernizing regulatory frameworks, and easing long-standing structural constraints to support sustainable credit growth remain key priorities. A wide-ranging structural reform agenda is needed to strengthen economic resilience and ease the impediments to growth potential. Institutional frameworks should be enhanced to better support policy formulation, monitoring, and implementation. So what does all this tell us about the management of Dominica's economy? Why is it proposing that we tighten our belts even more? Why does it warn us about